Hey. So, look who I have here. Welcome to Dick's World. It's your host, your boy Champ. And man, oh man, we have the. Okay, so let me go by this. Y'all know who a point guard is, right? You have a point guard, then you have point guards, right? Chris Paul is what you call a point guard, right? Jeremy Cohen, right, is a cap guy. This man is the numbers. Mr. Knicks Film School, Mr. Jeremy Cohen, thank you for coming to the show.
Appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
It's the cap god, man. The cap god. The man knows his numbers. I'm about to play the lotto with you. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm
You will
playing lotto with
lose.
you.
You will
I'm
lose, and
gonna.
so will I.
I don't want to do that. Then I don't want to do that. No more.
So I
But the
got one
information.
skill, and it's this,
Yes.
not anything
Yes.
else.
Oh my goodness, man! Oh man! Oh man! Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course, happy to be here and excited to talk about the Knicks and the second half of the season starting.
Yes. Ah, let's go. Let's start with the All Star break, right? Um, All Star break, obviously has been underwhelming these last few years. Not just from the dunk contest. I mean, the dunk contest kind of supposed to set the tone, and obviously, it wasn't as great this year. I don't think it was that bad from previous years, but still was pretty bad. I believe Jace Richardson had slipped and hit his head on the floor off a dumped attempt. It wasn't really all of the best showing. He's okay. He finished the dunk off and stuff like that, but it was still like underwhelming. Um, but obviously we're gonna talk about the shooting stars, the Knicks shooting stars, and Cat, Allen Houston, and Jalen Brunson. What you thought about that performance?
Yeah, I didn't. The only thing I watched of the All Star game was the very last game, and
Okay,
that was basically over before it even really started. So
right.
that was enjoyable, but it was great to see them win for the
Mm-hmm.
competition for the shooting stars. It's hard not to when you got one of the best big men of all time,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brunson, as well, and Allen Houston with maybe the nicest jumper ever, at least
Hmm.
certainly up there. So, and great passing by Rick Brunson
Yes.
for a guy who never really stuck anywhere. Nice to see him get some sort of accolade.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. Carthay Towns, so that, like, just to try to show you what it was like, Carthay Towns looked smooth in his shooting. Like during that competition, granted, it's nothing. You're doing anything all day. You probably stretched, and nobody's in your way. It's a competition. It's nothing. But just going off of the first half of the season, how he looked, and now it looks so much fun. Him and Jalen looked a little more closer. They kept it in the family. I believe they had a celebrity. Each contestant had like a celebrity with them, and they had Rick Brunson for our celebrity in a sense. So they kept it all in the family with Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson, Allen Houston, and Kat. They all looked like they had fun. They was getting ready, gearing up. So everybody looked comfortable and comfy, and it looked like they was ready to kind of like compete. Like I'm talking about the second half, not just for the first half. So that looked great. But what about the All Star game? How you felt about Jalen Brunson and Cat? How they look?
Uh, I know the last game Brunson didn't look great. Earlier, I
Mm,
think of the game before that, second leading scorer behind Kawhi, who just went off. Um, I mean, those games are fun.
yes,
My hope is for someone, especially like Cat, where his
yes,
mindset maybe he's struggling a bit this year, especially relative to where he's at before. He's around other stars. He belongs there. That
yeah,
mindset carrying over. I would hope, regardless of what he was able to do that weekend or not, that it,
mhm,
it gives him the positive reinforcement of like, yeah, I can be that guy. I
yeah,
can be an all-star. I can be an all NBA player.
mm,
And the Knicks are a really good team, and I can add to that. And let's go get a championship. Let's compete at the very least.
yeah. No, no, no. I definitely understand. I definitely understand. I just feel like they froze him out a little bit.
Mhm.
Some would say. But I feel like the little one-on-one match that he had, that was pretty good. When they was just having fun. Then you had some people trying to dig into conflict town saying, "Oh well, you know, the defense, they're looking to hunt him and stuff like that." And it's like, yeah, but it's an all-star game, so I mean, maybe he just really did relax, or was it? Do we know? We don't know. Um, but I believe Jalen Brunson had an article. I don't know if it was on Vanity. I don't want to be. Was it Vanity? It was Vanity.
Very fair, yeah.
Okay, Vanity Fair, and he was specifically saying something about hopefully they do right by him, meaning the team, on his next contract in 2028. And do right by him is saying he did do right by himself and sacrificed. I believe it was 113
Mhm.
on the table. Okay, and he hoped the team, I don't want to say reimburse, but show him some love as well. He showed love. Could you explain what would, in your opinion, what would be do right by that?
Man, it's tough because you gotta think about it from the team perspective or the fan perspective.
Yes.
And the fan perspective is you're absolutely right. Jalen Brunson could have hit the open market and made about $113 million more.
Hmm.
Following year, he didn't want to do that. Reason likely being that the front office said, if you take this extension, it gives us more wiggle room under the second apron to be able
Yeah.
to maximize your prime the best that we can. And
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson said, great, okay, it's still a lot of money. He even, I think, said in the article something along the lines of tomorrow's never promised. You never know, guys could get hurt.
Yes.
So take that security. And he got that. And I think the thing that some might not know or might be overlooking is yes, Jalen Brunson did a huge service for the Knicks by doing exactly what he did. But he also
Mhm.
set himself up where he, with that player option, can opt out and hit unrestricted free agency. And that year, he'll be eligible for a 35% max of the salary cap.
Right.
So that's a huge number. And I say that as like this, there is a self serving side here. And
Yeah.
athletes are athletes. They're gonna do whatever they do, but we're talking about between the last contract and this one, that he's currently on. I mean, Jalen Brunson's gonna probably have earned at least 180, 200 million some odd dollars. I don't have it memorized, but he had 70 some 75 or so from the first contract, then this extension. So
Yeah.
there's generational wealth there. So
He's
they're
not
fine.
broke.
If he is, then he's got to find a new accountant or money guy.
Right.
Or so with that in mind, I understand why he's saying they should do right by me because
Mhm.
he's right. But also, time will tell. The Knicks can't go into the second apron because Jalen Brunson needs to get paid. They
Mhm.
can go into the second apron because the peak of their team is around the time financially when they can spend the most. That'll
Mhm.
either be next season or the year after that.
Mhm.
But then we're talking about, okay, that final year after that,
Yeah.
where he would be eligible for more money. And there's an opportunity cost with everything. If it can't work, I mean, what is he going to leave the Knicks because the Knicks are saying we can't give you a max contract because if we do, it's going to really hurt us because of all the
Yeah.
other commitments we have. So he's going to do just fine. And I get why that comment might make some fans go, but got to play it at least another year, if not two, and then kind of see where things shake out. But I think
Yeah.
they'll find common ground somewhere.
Yeah. See, the thing about it is when you have guys like Jalen Brunson and do right by him, I don't think that they wouldn't. I mean, obviously family ties, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think they would not do that for him. But at the same time, though, just the rest of the team that gotta fill out. And then you have the Confident Towns who's eligible for an extinction. And then you still got the other players that Mitch Robinson and Deuce Bride coming up in another year or so. And then it's just like even
Alvarado,
down to Alvarado now, even Modiawara is also is he unrestricted?
he'll be a restricted free agent this summer.
He's restricted. Okay. So there's a lot of questions that goes into place. And then obviously the big storm of the Giannis. saga as well, which can throw a whole torpedo in a lot of things too. My question is, I guess you go down the list of what happens with Anthony Towns. Is that based off of this playoff series, or is it based off of just the numbers game?
It's got to be a numbers game. It's got to be fit, play
Mhm.
style, everything. I don't think that what happens this year changes the Knicks' thinking in terms of how they're going to operate. Because you could, let's say the Knicks somehow won a championship. The first instinct that fans are going to have, which is understandable, is run it back. You won the title this year. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't touch nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's also assuming the Knicks shouldn't improve and can't improve,
Mhm.
and that the only improvement will come internally. That's also ignoring other teams in the East and even in the West, but especially in the
Yeah.
East, getting better and making
Yes.
improvements themselves. So the Knicks are always looking to get better as a team.
Hmm.
This summer, if they could do more, they would have, but they
Yep.
were limited in terms of what they could offer free agents, and they didn't really wanna trade any of their players unless it were for someone who raises their ceiling. They tried that. They tried to get Giannis, it didn't happen. So, with all that in mind, the biggest domino to me is, does Karl Anthony Towns get an extension or not? Because if he
Yeah.
does get an extension, he is ineligible to be traded for 6 months,
Yeah.
and that summer is the most active time for stars to move teams. And if he doesn't, it's fair, you know, it's fair, not value, but like anything can happen at that point. So
Yeah.
that's the thing to keep your eye on, because with Julius Randle, he never even had extension talks. The team, both sides just didn't discuss it.
Yeah.
So is that going to be the thing with Cat, or is he going to be re-signed?
Yeah, because even around the Julius Randle time, they were saying it was far apart. But I guess as fans, we just looked at it like, I mean, they'll get it together. Then, literally, like I think it was maybe like a day before training camp or that weekend. I think it was that Friday, and the
Yep.
training camp was that Monday.
Hmm.
Yeah, because Julius Randle was in the Bronx, and he was. It was like a school that he opened up
Yep.
in the Bronx, and literally next day, boom, Julius Randle gets traded to where it was unbelievable. I thought it was fake. Everybody had to look because there's around a time on Twitter where there was like a fake Shams account going
Hmm.
around, and everybody was trying to do the breaking news fake stuff. So everybody was like, "Is this the real Shams? Is this real?" Because I don't believe in this stuff and stuff, but it was real. It was very real. It was very very real. Do you think Conte Towns play in this postseason will determine what happens with him with this ball club this summer?
Probably not. And I think
Mm,
it's really just a play style thing, which is
okay.
the way that this team is operating.
Okay.
I think that this front office, or certainly, let's start with the head coach. With Mike Brown, he and Cat are not seeing eye to eye based on everything that is being reported. They have not
Right.
found harmony. And I believe, or at least from the outside looking in, the way that I see it is the Knicks have a different offense in mind than what Karl
Mhm.
Anthony Towns is comfortable with. So if Cat isn't on board with everything, and that article that came out as soon as the Knicks lost from the Athletic, talking
Yeah.
about how the defense and the communication and everything that Cat was involved with, it wasn't clicking for him in the same way it was for other players.
Yeah.
If you are looking at Jalen Brunson as a defensive liability, and you have another player on your court who maybe he's not a defensive liability,
Mhm.
but perhaps, it depends on what you're looking at or what you're asking him to do. But you want to shore things up as best you can. And the way that the Knicks operate isn't, hey, let's get some post up looks and perhaps have some deep threes from above the break. That isn't their staple. It's not quite them. But that's
Yeah.
Pat. That's what he wants. So how much of this is the perfect offense that the Knicks envision, and how much is this is the best we can do considering the talent and the play styles and the habits of the
Yeah.
players that we have here.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with some buddies of mine, and they're not Knicks fans, so they're completely unbiased. And they would say, "Hey, so this is what I think. I think the coach needs to adjust to Anthony Towns style of play, and now we get the best out of him. That's the point. And I said, I understand that, but my issue is, but everybody else is thriving in this offense. So how much do you really change everything for just one player on a 15-man rotation or a 15-man ball club? You know what I'm saying? Because how does that work? How does that make sense? You would just, I guess, move off. But then again, that's a big move off. You know, like Cat is still a star, you know. What he brings to the game in itself. He had a monster year last year, and obviously this year kind of dipped a little bit, but it's still going what, double double. You know what I'm saying? Like just dipped a bit. I would say the most thing that really impacted us is his shooting is not performing well. But that could be, you know, based on anything, life, mental, anything like that. So, you know, like that's how I feel about that, if anything, as far as cat
Layups, layups and threes. They
layers
make
and threes.
life a lot easier for everyone if they're
Whoa,
to.
is this the man, the myth, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr.
I
Nickinator?
don't hear anything. I don't know why.
Is this Nickinator?
You guys might want to drop me down while I figure this out, man. I don't even know if you guys can hear me, actually.
We can,
You
we
can't hear
can.
me, but I cannot hear you guys. All right. Yeah, I'm need a second to figure.
Okay. That is the man, the myth, the legend, Nickinator. He will be joining us shortly after he get his audio working. I'm sorry about that, Jeremy, but no, man, it's just, what do you feel like should happen as far as that goes? Like, do you feel like it's easy to just move off of him, or do we should we find some ways to adjust to his game without deterring from the rest of the roster?
So you're saying in the event of keeping him versus moving him, or because
Yeah, I'm saying that. Yeah,
I mean, if you can make it work with Cat, great. That run it with him, have him be your guy. The question
yes,
that I have always had with Cat was similar to the question that I always had with Randall, which was, okay, who are you moving this player for?
right,
What player makes around that money that makes you better than you already are?
yes,
And every single time, especially leading into the deadline, which I'm glad is passed, but with all of
thank
the Carl
you.
Anthony Towns trades that happened, the thing I kept wondering was, or what, all the scenarios and the requests to trade him. I just kept sitting back and thinking, give me a trade that works. Give me a trade
Hmm.
that is consistent with what the Knicks have done, which has always been how do we get better as a team?
Yes.
Not how do we get quantity for quality. No, it's always how do we make sure we are still trying to get a championship? And none of the trades with Cat
Hmm.
got anywhere close to that. And you don't want to treat him in the way that it did with Randall, because then Randall turned into Cat, who is still a better player than Julius. It's just, it's like when you look at your ex and you think about the things that you miss, but you ignore the stuff that you didn't miss because you don't have to
Yes.
see it every day.
Hmm.
And it's easier to picture a different version than the one you actually had. So that's the main thing. It's which player that is better than Cat do you want to try to target?
Yeah.
And this is really more an offseason question, obviously.
Right.
But then it's okay, well, who's it going to be? What team is looking to move a player that is Cat's caliber or better that also fits exactly what you're looking for that makes everything go?
Yes.
How do you make the salaries work? How do you ensure that the player maybe wants to be there? All of that. And it might seem silly with the player wanting to be there part, but that's a huge thing. So
It
when we
is.
see someone like Giannis, there's going to be a reason why there are several teams that he would not be traded to because they're smaller markets and he simply won't stay there.
Hmm.
So finding that right move is so tricky. And other than Giannis, I have yet to see a player that makes sense if you're using Cat in a trade.
Hmm. So I can. Would you like me to throw out some names that I felt?
Please. Absolutely.
Okay, I will. Wait, is that Nicolette? Are you there? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm hoping you guys can hear me.
Hey, what's going on?
The old man figured it out, fellas. The old man
Let's
figured it out.
go, man. This is the no old man's here. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Niconator. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm bouncing things here. Just got off work. I got my wife on her way home in a cab from the airport.
Okay,
So
okay,
I'm like,
okay.
I
We
have to
love
make
that.
this time to talk to the fellas because I'm not gonna miss an opportunity. How are you guys doing?
Uh, Doing well, man. Jeremy, how
Doing
you
great.
feeling?
Yeah.
Good, good. So you guys talking cat? You talking cat trades? Really? Is that
So
what you
I
guys
was about to
are
throw him right. I was about to throw him my scenarios, or what we were, because obviously Cat has been underperforming shooting wise, and when you have the best 3-point shooting mantra and you're not doing it, you kind of be like, okay, what now? Because not that you are the reason ever losing, but you're a big reason because you are in the pecking order the second best player on the team, especially when you're making that salary the most.
Yeah.
So then you go, what can you get for him? I was looking at the likes of possibly Zion in a deal. Who wants to be in New York? As you just said, what player wants to be in New York? If the Giannis thing, he was the only one. Zion wanted to be in New York. Maybe somebody had hard times. Like I've seen, not to say that I wouldn't. I'm just saying I've seen Paolo Banchero name go out there. He's not having the best time in Orlando. You know what I'm saying? Just looking at power forwards who will want to change scenarios
Mm-hmm.
and kind of go elsewhere and be, I guess, more competitive. That makes a very hefty salary and could be game changers. Um, because going for a stretch, like just to say, oh yeah, well we want Cat to shoot, so he's not shooting, so we're just gonna move off of him, get some pieces, and we're gonna get a stretch to the four. That's not helping anything.
Right.
That's not helping anything because Cat does more than just shoot. It's just his confidence level is once he is not shooting, he's not doing much of anything. Nothing is going right, and that's where it's like, oh come on. You,
Yeah, I mean the hard thing with Carl, because Carl is who he is. I think that before Carl ever became a Knick, I wasn't the biggest fan. I gotta be honest. Um, I had my issues with him, and I kind of did buy into some of the labels that were out there about Carl. That he was soft, that he was this and that, and I have grown to appreciate what he actually is. He is smart. He does have some quirks to him. I don't want to call him lazy, but he commits the dumb fouls, and he's not necessarily the most aware defensively player. And the scenario that we have, where we have two minus defenders on the floor, and then you got him at the anchor, right, the defensive position. I think that's really where the challenges are more so than the three ball or anything else. But I don't know, like he's grown on me. I'm kind of happy where we are. I want to see what Mike Brown can do with this team because I kind of think we fell short last season. I thought that there was more to be had with that team. So I'm glad that they didn't make a trade for say a Giannis. I don't know who else actually fits as far as financially. I don't want to act like a contract expert, but I don't know what deals will really be out there to be had outside of Giannis. That would still keep us in that contender realm. A guy like Zion, I think that that's not a guy that's competed at this level where we are right now. So to introduce him to that mix, not that he isn't a competitor and not that he isn't a super talented player, but this would all still be new to him, right? And Cat's already had that experience with us last year, so I think there's some. What was that? What was that word? Continuity. I think we lose a little bit of
continuity.
continuity. Yeah, we lose a little bit of continuity with making a move like that. So I'm happy that they didn't make a trade. I think I'm happy with Carl. Again, he has his issues, and we all know what they are. But I'm happy that they didn't make a trade. And I'm kind of eager to see how the second half plays out for us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Same here, man. I'm glad we didn't move over Cat either. I do want to see it through. I feel like it's only right. And I'm be honest with you, even with the Julius Randle move, I wanted to see that kind of through too. I felt like
Yeah.
bringing in Cat, that would have been the best thing for Julius from an offensive standpoint because there was nobody in his way. As far as nobody sitting in the paint, Julius would have been down there bulldozing his way and doing
Right.
him and stuff like that. So I felt like we would have got the best of Julius as well. But obviously to get Cat, we had to move Julius. But if it was a way, I would have loved to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
You touched on it, and one of the things for me that it sucks, right? It just sucks. But we kind of lost catch and shoot Jalen. Catch and shoot Jalen is elite, right? Like we kind of lost that because the gravity that Julius drew, the ability to create on his own, he was elite at that, right? Like we kind of bust Julius shots for his temper tantrums and whatever else, but Julius was elite at shot creation, and you had to, if not double him, at least have a good defender on him, and that made a lot of opportunities for Jalen to just kind of roam, catch and shoot and kill. So I kind of miss that now. We're heliocentric around him, and it is what it is. Carl isn't a creator like that, not at that level like Julius is. So we lost that, and I would love to see that back. But I still feel we have a strong team. I still feel we're a contender, and I still think that there's some kinks to be worked out. But yeah, man, it would be great to have another creator on the floor and just see Jalen bounce around the different spots, catch and shoot, and let it go, man. Because I think he was up in the 40s, if I remember correctly, from behind the arc and catch and shoot scenarios.
Yeah, I think in terms of Zion, why I'm glad they didn't go that direction with moving Cat for Zion. First of all, the availability, and to your point, Nick Nader, it's like it's just he hasn't been in this type of environment. The closest he's come to this has been the NCAA tournament. That was 2019. So we're a long ways away from that, but this is someone where this is his healthiest season on record, which is great, but not someone you can rely on. And if you want to bring out the best of Mitch, it's not bringing in someone who's going to be a force in the paint, but also not going to give you that outside perimeter shot that you need. He's just not someone you can rely on. And Boncaro, I mean, financially, it would have been a whole mess because of something called the poison pill provision, which is when a rookie who is when a player's in his fourth year and he was a first round pick and signs an extension, the salary that goes in versus the salary that comes out is different. So it would have been weird to make the math work. You would have had to loop in the nets. It was going to be too much. So at the end of the day, you get the proven guy who's been to 2 consecutive conference finals in Karl Anthony Towns, and you just keep moving with him. And I think that's the right move.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So let me ask you, Jeremy, the way that we got Sohan and we moved under the second apron, and obviously we had to move Yabusele, but we're still functioning under the second apron. Can you explain how did that all move? Because it seemed like they had a deal with Chicago, 1v1, and then they expanded the deal for more. And we saved money from that. Can you explain how all of that worked? Because it was confusing. I'm gonna just say for me. I'm not gonna say for everybody. I don't know, but for me, it was a bit confusing.
Of course, yeah, the apron stuff can be very complex. So here's how it essentially worked. When the Knicks signed Yabusele, they were hard capped at the second apron, which meant at no point moving forward could they go above the second apron. They, at the deadline, were $148 some odd thousand below the second apron. So still below it, which is all they needed to be. They made the trade with Yabusele for Dalen Terry, and that didn't save them a whole lot of money, but it saved them something. Then they moved Terry to New Orleans. And there were questions of, is this going to be a 3-team deal or is it 2 separate transactions? The reason we know it was 2 separate transactions is you probably saw Yabusele played for the Bulls before Alvarado even made it to Detroit, it kind of felt like. So the Knicks got Terry, and then Yabusele was on his way. That was trade number 1. And then they got Alvarado, trade number 2. Then when he passed his physical and Terry passed his physical, those guys were able to play with their teams. Terry was waived, and you kind of keep moving forward. That created, because Yabusele was making a little more than $5 million, and I think it was around 5.5, and Alvarado was making 4.5. So that's a saving of about $1 million, a little over that. So the Knicks then had enough space to sign anyone. The way it works for any veteran who's played at least 2 seasons, there is a prorated minimum salary. So you could play 10 years and you could play, 3 years. The cap hit is going to be different. I'm sorry, the cap hit is going to be the same for both those guys. The amount of cash they receive is different because that's based on years of experience. But what matters to us is the cap hit. And every day that amount drops. But the Knicks got enough money back that they were able to not have to wait any days to sign anyone, because as things stood beforehand, the Knicks would have had to wait until late March to sign someone.
Yeah.
Now they open the door and are able to sign anyone, in this case, Sohan.
Okay. That's a kudos to Brock Aller, right? That's the that's the madman behind the wheel, behind the curtain, I guess.
Yeah.
The evil genius.
The evil genius. Yep.
So I look at, so what do you think the Sohan move mean for a guy like Diawara? Because I see they're gonna use him as a small ball five in a sense. That's what it's given. And then obviously Mitchell Robinson's not playing every game. But I would think for me, I'm more hopeful that maybe Huck Porty would just take a little step back because Diawara has improved a lot. I believe he's shooting a little over 40% from three, like 41%, something like that. So he's improving a, a lot at a fast rate. I would hate for his improving to slow down and reduce because you're bringing another guy in to try to figure him out where you could just move off a Huck Porty just a little bit just to see where Sohan could fit.
I understand why people don't want to see Diawara see less time because he's playing well. I'd say what's the most important thing? The playoffs.
Yes.
So Mike Brown has used this year for experimentation, which was a big thing that people wanted Tibbs to do. And then he didn't until the playoffs. And then it was like, why are we experimenting now? You should be prepared and know who works well, who doesn't. Sohan, Shams tweeted about the fact that there were like 10 different teams that wanted Sohan, and he picked the Knicks. So if a third of the league, and who knows what is being told and what is true and all that,
Yeah.
but let's assume that's true. That means a third of the league wanted Sohan. So he picked the Knicks. It wasn't just because they're good. I would imagine he wanted to see some playing time. And he's going to, at minimum, see playing time when Mitchell Robinson is perhaps resting from a back-to-back, or if there are games at the end of the season where maybe let's not play Mitch so that we keep him rested for the playoffs, give him as much time as possible to be healthy. Stuff like that. But you want to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with Sohan? Perfect example. Cade Cunningham coming to the Garden, first game. Are we going to see Cade Cunningham being guarded by OG and Sohan and Bridges and anyone else where you're just throwing a lot of bodies at him? Because if you shut him down, are you able to shut down the rest of the team? That is the sort of experimentation, because maybe the Knicks face the Pistons in the playoffs. Maybe they don't. But either way, when you have someone with that level of grit, that big, I guess he's more of a forward, who's able to be a little bit more versatile. You want to see what you can get out of him and who he fits with. And maybe it doesn't work. Maybe this experiment, it's not great, and Sohan is really just used sparingly in the playoffs. But I want to know, is this guy going to be able to do this or not because of what I'm able to see in the regular season? We know what Mo can do. We know how he can compete. I also think people might want to remember, in general, the rookie wall is real. There's a lot that can happen for a rookie, and things are going well. And this isn't to discourage him. It's to say, if he's not hitting his shots, if he's stumbling, if it's just a long time where he's not able to be trusted quite in that way, having another guy that you do trust in some capacity, that's not a bad thing. And I think that some might say it's about the finances because Mo is a free agent. I don't think that that's going to have an impact. I don't think Mo's going to get a lot of money in free agency in general because he's a restricted free agent, but that's a future issue. For now, you got the best player on the buyout market. That's a win. So let's see how he plays with the rest of the team.
100%.
No, that's facts. That's facts. That's facts. Okay, so
I love the addition. I got to tell you, I love the addition. I like the fact that he's a ball handler. I like the fact that he can guard like 1 through 5. It kind of reminds me of like Frank on steroids, Frank Ntilikina on steroids. So yeah, man, I'm excited to have him there. He's an international player. I think that also helps with a guy like Mo Diawara. And I think he'll push Mo Diawara as well. So I'm really happy with the signing. It was who I wanted in that scenario. I thought he would have been a trade. I don't really understand the inner workings of the CBA like that, so I was hoping it would be a trade. But the fact that we ended up as the team that he chose in the buyout market was awesome, man. So I'm excited for it.
yeah, gotta definitely be more encouraging that we are out of 10 teams. He chose us. We can't think all the teams were like under 500 teams, right? So some of them had to be playoff risers, or some had to be playoff contenders, and he felt like, let me go to the Knicks because they give us the best chance. So
We've come a long way, man. We've come. Hats off to Leon Rose. Hats off. I remember being in the building when it was the 17-win season, man. And not that the Garden isn't always electric. Garden is always electric, but we've come. It's to say the point that we've come such a long way, man. It's exciting times right now, and the fact that Sohan, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, chose us,
Mhm.
it just, again, it's just more validation, more about who we are as a contender, that we're attracted to teams, to players like that. So it's a good time.
Hey, nigga did he already dyed the hair too. You see it? You got the black with the orange and the blue patches.
No, 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 I see it.
Yeah, yeah, he already got it. Number
There's a
20.
photo. There's a photo floating around, but
Yeah,
I
at the
think it was
press
James
conference.
Elwood made a joke about it, but I didn't pay enough attention. But I'm always doing like 4 and 5 things at a time, so I kind of missed what the hair coloring was. But that's kind of cool.
um, so I want to dive into like Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet has been, first of all, this guy's journey is amazing. And the first person that's seen it, we got to credit to where credit is due. Tiz was the first guy that seen it. Nobody believed in it last season. Like nobody. Everybody just felt, oh yeah, he's just a shooter. I'm that person that said that. If
Hmm.
anything, I'll take the blame on that. But man, oh man, he fought and clawed. He hurt himself, came back after training camp. We waited for him, and then he was still lighting it up for us. This season we ended up getting what Brogdon from a buyout from Washington, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they both Shamit and Brogdon was going to be the last two spots. And for me, I didn't think Shamit was going to have it over Brogdon, but then obviously Brogdon, it seemed like he was a little gassed. After preseason and say, you know what, I quit. I can't do it no more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't do it. But Shamit is up and not just up, but he's playing phenomenal, man. Like, can you take us into that? Like, I feel like he's been in the league for so long to play at a high level like this. It's like seems like it's more of an underpay, right?
Yeah, I'd say he's probably the best among, or at least if not the top three best minimum signings of the year. I would gather if Brogdon had been around, they would have probably tried to move Dadier's salary and just get it
Mhm.
off the books. But Brogdon said that's a wrap, and that solves that dilemma pretty easily. Yeah, he's just the ability to, especially with Deuce McBride out, be able to fill a role. But he's a 6'5" guard who can shoot really well, and he navigates ball screens fantastically. The real question is, all right, you've got him on this team. How are you approaching the future? Because
Mhm.
he's a free agent this summer. So
Yes.
you want to be able to keep him, but you want to keep all your guys. But then are you limited by how much you can spend because you've made a trade that hard caps you at the second apron again? And if you're doing that, are you clearing other salary to make room for someone like Shamet? My hope is looking at Shamet, he's able to take a smaller pay cut. So it really depends on how the Knicks operate. If they want to go for broke next season, pay him. Just give him the salary that he'll probably get. But if he's able to sign for a little bit more than he's making, let's say $5 million, right? If you sign him to that with a player option for the following year, that gives him another no trade clause because he had a no trade clause this year,
Mhm.
which is important to guys. He loves being here. He stated as such. So I would imagine the ability to stay important. If he gets hurt, he's got guaranteed money. But the hope is that, okay, if next year is not the year they go above the second apron, the year after that is, you say to him, decline the player option and we will extend you for, or yeah, we'll re-sign you for a slightly longer contract with the cap hit that is more deserving of what you need. And that being able to do that, it's different because I don't see him making a ton, but right now, this summer, he'll be what's known as an early bird free agent.
Mhm.
And next year, the Knicks would have full bird rights. So they could offer more, whether they do or don't,
Yeah.
different story. But that flexibility is what I would expect the Knicks and Shamit to be looking into.
Nigga
I'm
net.
actually I'm actually surprised by Shaman. I knew that he was good. I had seen him have some moments with the Clippers, and I always thought he was a solid guard. But I always thought he had some consistency issues. And to see, and it's funny because when we first got him, I had some folks that I had conversations with. They would tell me that the guy's going to end up taking Josh Hart's spot at the two, and I'm like, all right, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But you know what? To his credit, he's hard nosed. He's always giving you 110%. He came off of that injury with the shoulder, which not for nothing. I think that the Knicks did the right thing by him by
Mhm.
paying him that money while he was rehabbing, and so I
Yes.
think maybe that buys us a little collateral towards the offseason. To Jeremy's point, when it comes to negotiating a deal. So I'm kind of hoping that that's the way that plays out. But he's turned out to be one of my more favorite players on the team. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that we have him. I'm hoping that it works out the right way for us.
They call him Devo Light. That's what they
Devo
call him.
Light. What was
Devo
that
Light,
nickname?
man.
Let's just say
Devo Light.
Landry, man. Let's just say, I see the Landry mat or the laundry mat. I forgot what they were calling it, but they all kinds of nicknames for him. That's hilarious.
When you're a player that's been in the league for so long, man, it's hard to think that you're going to be able to still not play but compete at a high level. Because you could give like 5 points, you get like a bucket of soup, but if you got like Shima that's giving you like I guess Devo S kind of things, it's not even just shooting with him. Like the things that he's doing on the
Yeah,
floor, he's running the floor,
he's a defender.
he's running the floor, man, and you do want to like you said you want to do right, right, nigga Nana, you want to do right by people that you feel the need that can help your ball club, and he did. So hopefully
Mhm.
it's reciprocated around contract time when we gotta save some money for the rest of the guys on the team, and hopefully if you want to stay with us and you believe in this crew and you love it here, everybody gotta kind of pony up and share the wealth. Which brings me to got nigga Nana.
No, I hate the conversation because I'm enjoying the team so much right now.
Yes.
We had that blip. We had that blip when we first acquired OG, and we went
Yes.
on a tear in January, right? And I always felt that that team got robbed. I felt that it was, it had a higher ceiling than maybe any of us really realized. But the way
Mm-hmm.
the contracts worked out with Isaiah, and of course he had to do the right thing that was for him, and that's kind of what pushed us towards Cat. We needed a five. Mitch was always hurt, but I felt like we missed an opportunity. So right now, like I know the off season's coming and all those things, the things we're gonna deal with in the off season. But right now, I just want to enjoy it right now, what we have on the table right now, and just push it for all that it's worth. Because Landry is in a great space with us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Carl is comfortable with us right now. We're adding Sochan. We just added Jose, who brings a lot of energy, a
Yes.
lot of grit with them. And honestly, we got buckets. We were always getting buckets. We're one of the highest scoring teams in the league. But
Mm-hmm.
now we've added those things recently that help toughen us up on the other side of the ball. So that's what I'm excited for. So I know the off season's coming. Every season I look at, like it's 3 seasons in one. You think about the first 20 games, and not even just this season. I thought it was unique to the Knicks, right? I thought this dynamic was unique to the Knicks, but I think this is what it is in the league. But you get the first 20 games of the season going into when the trade deadline begins, and the NBA Cup, and that almost seems like a small little mini season in itself, right? And then we have the trade deadline period. It ends up becoming like another type of season. And I think guys are nervous and nobody really knows. There's a lot of uncertainty, and you see that. And then finally, the trade deadline comes. You get the second half, and this is the third leg of the season. And this is where we really people always talk about Tibbs has strong second half. Right now, you're gonna have like almost a quarter of the league tanking. I'm so excited for what this team does in the second half, man, because this is that third leg, man. This is where it shines, man. This is where it's good. So excited for that.
Jeremy Shohan had said he, well, I want specific. He said he's gonna bring some nasty, and that's a Greg Popovich quote. I want you to bring some nasty, and if you're from New York, as we are, we know what that means. That's that bring that like bring that roar that I'm gonna lean on you. I'm gonna wear on you. You're gonna feel my sweat. You're gonna breathe my air. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to feel my presence. And that's what I got what he meant. And I felt like we didn't have that um right before the deadline. We didn't have that. But we have not just that, but we have a Alvarado who's gonna pick you up 94 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to make you work. He's going to make you dribble. And it's crazy because we've always had guys do that to Jalen. You know what I'm saying? We've had that in Philly with Oubre would do that. We've had that in Indiana where Aaron Naismith would do that. We've had that in Miami. Uh, Whoever would do that. Just a million people just throwing bodies at him. It's always a small forward. Always Jalen Brown was doing that, or it's something in Boston. We've always had that. In Detroit, them guys do that, right? Not Cade. because for whatever reason, K don't want to guard Jalen, but he wants to get all the credit saying that he shut Jaden down. Now we got a guy, Jose Alvarado, who obviously is in the West Coast, so obviously is only 2 games per from East to West. Now, Tyrese Maxey, you're going to get hounded 94 feet. Now, Cade, you're going to get hounded 94 feet for 3 to 4 games. Because now you got to see this man 3 to 4 times a year now because he's in our conference. Now you have to get hounded, Halliburton, when you come back in Indiana or Nimhard, whoever's going to be bringing up the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever, whatever. Derek White in Boston. Y'all gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to deal with our hound that's going to hound you down 94 feet all game. You're gonna get checked out. That was a big signing from us. A big signing. Um, I know we're about to let you go in another couple minutes, Jeremy. But speaking of a hound dog in Alvarado, we had another one who unfortunately is out until I guess maybe right before the playoffs, and Deuce McBride.
Mm.
And for me, he was our best 3-point shooter this year. Um, I've loved the fact that he was training in the offseason with Ray Allen on his game, on his shooting. That was amazing. Obviously, the best 3-point shooter on our team, so obviously it worked. Um, but having Alvarado here now, and then you have Deuce McBride, who you also have a Shamet in that 2 guard spot. So that there's so many of that 2 guard spots that's going around. And obviously in the start lineup, Mikel is at the 2-point spot. So now it's like a bunch of guards. Oh, I forgot about Tyler Kolek at the point guard spot coming off the bench. So there's a lot of you're on my way, you're on my way, you're on my way kind of thing. How do you feel like what do we do with Deuce? I guess is what I'm asking because that's tough. That's a value right there. Like a very, very valuable piece.
I think depending on the night, especially come playoff time, whoever has it going, whoever you trust, that's who you're rolling with. And Deuce is hopefully going to be one of those players because one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA this year, especially off of catch and shoot. It's just the way the moon balls that he takes and just how it goes in. It's amazing, but that's what he does. And getting Alvarado, I can understand from a height perspective why it would seem redundant to some. I don't see it as such because they're different players. Alvarado's much more primary ball handler, secondary ball handler. Deuce, you don't want him doing that quite as much. The Knicks have done better when he's more of an off-ball guard, but he's really more of a wing, but he's in a guard-sized body. So when you need more height, you've got that in OG and Shamet even and Bridges. When you care less about height, you can roll out whoever you want. Kolek, I don't think come playoff time we'll see too much time. If he does, it's either garbage time or someone got hurt. So I would hope not to see Kolek in that spot. But
Right.
with the others, abundance is not a bad thing. If someone
Exactly.
is upset because they didn't get playing time, they won't be upset if the team wins. And that's really what matters. So you got a bunch of guys who don't want to sacrifice, but understand the team is the most important thing. So I'm excited for Deuce to come back. I'm sure Deuce is as well. Hopefully he can come back in the regular season so he gets a little bit more time to adjust. Play with Alvarado as well. See what you're able to mix and match there. He's kind of the last piece of the puzzle for assuming health is intact for the next few weeks, which who knows. But if that's the case, that's really the last guy to figure out how does he function with Alvarado and Sohan. So get him more properly integrated into the system and you're as prepared as you can be for the most important time of the year.
Negative? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, to Jeremy's point, we're deep. We have a bench. I think about what Josh said, where he made the comment about being gassed last year, and the fact that there was always that conversation about minutes and what the guys were going through at the time. Now we have options, man. Now we have, and I agree with Jeremy the fact that, yeah, granted they're both maybe smaller guards, but they're very different in what they do. I didn't know that Jose shot the 3 ball that well. I don't know if that was a fluke that he had that game that he had. That was amazing. But yeah, they're very different guards. I do look at Deuce kind of like, I don't want to be disrespectful with the meaning, so I kind of look at him like a 3-and-D point guard, right? I look at him like not even so much of a combo guard. I think about that moment where uh, Brown gave him the opportunity to take the final shot, and he had to create on his own. And I specifically remember Carl rolling his eyes when he got that opportunity to deuce. But I thought it was great because at least you see it. You see it in that moment. And deuce didn't live up to the moment, but you get that opportunity. You see what it is. You got now guys like Alvarado, like you mentioned, and you know, I, it's it's great that we have this kind of depth right now. It's great that we have the tools and the resources. So if things come up in the playoffs, whether it's injury or scenarios or whatever matchups are, we can have options. We can do what we want to do. So yeah, it's
Oh,
this abundance of wealth, whatever the term was you used. But yeah,
I want to end it with what's your what's the fun lineup that you want to see? Because there's a lot of bodies that we got on this team right now. So what's a fun lineup that you want to see on this team?
That's a great question. All right. Well, I'll work backwards in
Okay.
some way. So, uh, I mean, trying to find that mix and match where obviously would love to see Brunson and Cat continue playing together. And the net rating for that's getting better, which is great. But
Right.
I'd love to see something where you get Jalen Brunson on the floor, have Cat in the minutes that they're not sharing the court together. And I also think you should have at least one of them ideally for all 48 minutes, but it also
Yeah.
depends on foul trouble, it depends on matchups, all that. But start with Brunson. He's
Hmm.
your best player. From there, would love to see OG and Mitch.
Hmm.
And then it's kind of filling in those last two spots. And from there, man, I guess would love to see Deuce. And then the last player, you got to try to figure out height. Um, I guess I'll go Bridges on that one,
Hmm. Okay.
which it's not the most original, but if you were to swap Deuce for Alvarado,
Hmm.
totally happy with that as well. Just
Hmm.
being able to, if you're going to get smaller, you can play a smaller lineup, but you probably want the matchup that you're having to be not towering over you. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
if the Knicks were to play the Spurs, which they're going to do in a couple weeks, like
Yeah.
I don't see them going small ball lineup when Wembanyama might be the tallest player by like
right.
at least
Yeah.
9 to 10 inches. So
Yeah.
you gotta build it accordingly. But I
Yeah.
think that type of vibe where you get some sort of secondary ball handling, but you've also got two of your best front court defenders, and you got
Hmm.
someone who's a little bit more consistent. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'd go with that.
How about you, nigga native?
I know it's gonna sound weird. I don't care, but this is what I would love. This is what I would love to see. Whether it's a
Okay.
few minutes of it, but I would love to see Soshan at the point. I'd love to see
Ooh.
McCall at the two. I'd
Hmm.
love to see OG at the three,
Hmm.
Carl at the four, and Mitch at the five. I would love to see that setup, man. I would love to see them.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see. I want to see a lot of length, a lot of range on the court, and then I know that Soshan can play the point. He's a
Yeah.
willing passer. He's a good passer. I could see some action for Carl coming out of that. I could see Mitch even getting some buckets that we don't expect because he's going to put it up. Soshan is going to put it up.
Yeah.
So and then with OG, and he can still get any points, but he's just moving around. Again, Solskjaer is going to be able to make passes that some of our other point guards can't because of the size advantages that he has. He's going to see the floor differently. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that lineup, so I would love to see that lineup.
Ooh. Someone at the one is crazy. No, but
Yeah,
crazy in a good way.
I said,
That's
I know
that's
that
a good
sounds
one.
nuts, man, but I
That's
would
a
love to see that for a few
2K
minutes. I would
lineup.
love to
I
see
gotta
that.
try that.
Yeah, I would love to see it for a few minutes, man. Not all
Uh,
game, doesn't need to start, whatever, but I would love to see that lineup for a few minutes.
So I got two weird ones. And not so weird, but it's just more so like so I would have Alvarado at the one. I would have Deuce at the two because I want to see how that look together. I would have OG at the three. I would have Cat at the four, and I would have Mitch at the five. But I would have Mitch as the hub. I mean, sorry, I would have Cat at the hub. I feel like Cat would shoot more, being that Mitch is down there. But then you have Alvarado to basically pick and pop and pick and roll.
Yeah. I could,
So I feel like that'll work because now being that he'll pick up, pop, pick and roll, they'll kind of like do it with more spice, I
you
guess.
you
You know
you
what I'm
really
saying?
want to play through you really want to play through Carl, huh? You really want to see the action through Carl.
Because I do want to. Yeah, I feel like he'll
Yeah.
bring more if he feel
Yeah.
like he's the main feature in that role. at that time.
I mean, there's more to be had with Carl. I don't know how we get there, how we unlock that, but you're right. There's more to be had with Carl. So
Yeah, and I
that
feel
was
like
it.
I feel like playmaking duties isn't necessarily Jalen's forefront, which is okay because all point guards are different. But I feel like Alvarado, for what we've seen the last game,
Mhm.
that's his train of thought. That's why I
Yeah,
feel like him coming off the bench with Mitch works because it's gonna be a instant pick and roll live because that's what he used to do in the New Orleans with Zion and etc. So they're already gonna pick and roll, but I feel like Cat will benefit from Jose Alvarado for picking pops from the 3 point line, or maybe he will pick and roll for him too. I don't know,
yeah.
but that's
Good
one
times.
lineup.
Good times.
That's
Good times.
that's his one lineup. That's his one lineup. That's his one lineup. I would see a small ball though. I would see Sohan at the 4, OG at the 5, Josh Hart at the 3, Mikel at the 2, and I see Jalen at the 1. Right. So now it's a small ball 5. You got your 5 that can bring the ball up. You got Josh that can bring the ball up. You got Mikel that can bring the ball up. Well, you about pretty much everybody can bring the ball up. So
Mhm.
Jalen can still be off ball. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know who's gonna bring the ball up. Just whoever's the weaker defender, you can pick and choose who will take it to the cup.
In the second half, I hope we can unlock a little more off ball, Jalen. A little more catch and
Yes.
shoot, Jalen. I'd love to see a little more of that.
Yes. 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 Oh man, please, please tell the family, tell the friends, tell the people out there, Jeremy, where they can find you at.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on Twitter or X at the coincidence, Cohen. And I'm at Knicks Film School as well. We do all sorts of different content over there. I do a lot of the salary cap stuff, yes, but we got film breakdowns and all sorts of other interesting, fun stuff. So check us out over there. I appreciate you guys
And
having me.
thank
Good.
you, man. Thank you so much. And Nickinator, Sensei, Legend, please explain to the family and the friends where they can find you at.
Probably Blarney Stone, maybe Tear in the Nog, depending if it's a pay week. Might catch me at Tear in the Nog. But as far as the internet, I'm gonna say the
Yeah.
Nickinator, man. Nickinator. You can always find me at Nickinator, rambling on about some foolishness, but I'll be there.
Listen, man. This is everybody's favorite guy, favorite uncle on the internet, man. For real.
Oh, that's kind of you.
I
That's kind of you to say.
appreciate you,
And thank you
man.
for the opportunity, man. It's
No,
nice to have the opportunity to speak to Jeremy as well. So it's cool.
As well.
and thank you guys for blessing my show, man. Appreciate that. Everybody, well, we're gonna have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we have a game tonight. We go against the Detroit Pistons, and hopefully we belt ass.
Well, I'm on my way there now, man. As soon as I
Are
pick
you
up this,
going?
yeah, I'm on it. I'm taking recap with me. I'm gonna go catch this game, man. Should be fun.
Okay, shout out to you and shout out to Recap. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I'll see y'all on March 4th. I'm gonna go to the OKC game.
I'll be there, brother. I'll be there.
The best friends risk they just announced. The best
I
friends
already, I
day.
already committed mine to someone, but yeah,
Oh, you did?
yeah,
Okay. It's a big swirl, y'all.
yeah.
We can wrap it up now, Stan.
All right, guys.
All right, yeah.
Cool.
I guess y'all can exit the end of the live.
All right, man. Thanks again,
Sounds
man. I
good.
appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Thank y'all.
guys. Enjoy again. Bye.
All right. Later, y'all.